Former U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Political and Military Affairs, Mark Kimmitt, joins me now live from Washington for more on this. Mark, what's your assessment on this? Why the deployment of U.S. troops now after weeks of rising tensions?
Well, I think it's exactly that. The tensions are rising, and I think that the United States wanted to show a demonstration of our capability and our will, not only to Russia, but also a message of assurance to our NATO allies and to Western Europe.
Uh, But there's been a flurry of diplomatic activity over the last few days and weeks. Do you think this will complicate things as it could be seen as a provocation by Russia?
No, I think, in fact, it sends the exact right message that we're prepared to use diplomacy, but we're also going to defend our friends and our allies in the region. When I was a young officer in Germany, we used to say we are going to deter and, if necessary, defend. But we're going to deter first. We're going to use diplomacy first. But if necessary, we'll defend our NATO allies if this situation spirals out of control and starts to affect some of the allies outside of Ukraine.
The U.S., meanwhile, is no longer using the word imminent when talking about an invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Why the change in the language now? Because it seems like that's sending the message of downgrading the threat, but on the other hand, sending troops to the region would indicate that the U.S. is prepared for an imminent invasion.
I just think at this point, it's probably better to show rather than say that the words are less important as much as the deployment of troops are. But it also may be that simply we want to do everything in our power to ensure that the Russians understand that we are not building up this defense, nor do we expect, nor do we desire an outcome that has them attacking into Ukraine. So I think the words are meaningless. I think the actions are more important.
Turkey's President Erdogan is meeting with the Ukrainian president on Thursday and is set to meet with Russian President Putin later as well. Is Turkey uniquely positioned as a member of NATO who also has good relations with Russia to potentially mediate here?
Yeah, I think it really does. And I know that everyone in NATO appreciates the outreach of President Erdogan. In many ways, he is, as you say, in a unique position, but also the significance and the size of Turkey means that they have an outsized influence in any aspect, whether it's defense or if it's diplomacy. People listen to Turkey, and it's going to make a difference, we hope.
I'm curious as to the feeling there in the United States about the U.S. potentially getting into another conflict just a few months after pulling out of Afghanistan. What's the appetite for all of this there in the U.S.?
Well, there's absolutely no appetite for Americans fighting and dying inside of Ukraine. I think there is public support to live up to our Article 5 commitments under NATO. President Biden was very clear that, in his words, America is back, and we can't simply use words to say we are ready to help. Those are obligations that we have, and actually putting troops on the ground demonstrates it. But of course, we certainly hope that this does not escalate because, as I said, I don't believe that there's an appetite in America to defend a country that they can barely find on the map.
All right, Mark Kimmitt joining us from Washington. Thank you.